Ever feel like you're searching for something out there, chasing peace in external achievements, relationships, or spiritual practices, only to come back empty-handed? Here's a controversial truth that might rattle your worldview. The entire cosmos, the stars, galaxies, and infinite energy you've been gazing at isn't out there at all. It's been living inside you this whole time, pulsing through your consciousness, whispering through your intuition, and dancing in your awareness. The day you realize this isn't just another spiritual cliché, it's the moment your entire existence transforms, and the search for meaning finally ends because you discover you've been the answer all along. The ancient secret, as above, so below. The Hermetic masters knew something we've forgotten in our modern rush, that the macrocosm and microcosm are mirror reflections of each other. When they said, as above, so below, they weren't speaking poetry. They were handing us a roadmap to enlightenment. The patterns swirling through distant galaxies follow the same laws governing your thoughts, emotions, and spiritual energy. You're not a random speck floating in an indifferent universe. You're a holographic fragment containing the entire cosmic blueprint within your very being. Think about it. The same elements forged in dying stars now compose your bones, your blood, your beating heart. The universe didn't just create you, it became you, and through your eyes, it's experiencing itself in this exact moment. This isn't abstract philosophy to admire from a distance. It's a living reality you can tap into right now. When you meditate and sink beneath the noise of your thinking mind, you're not escaping the world. You're diving into the inner cosmos that creates all worlds. Ancient yogis spent lifetimes exploring this territory, mapping the internal universe with more precision than astronomers charting the night sky. They discovered that consciousness isn't produced by your brain like sweat from a gland. It's the fundamental fabric of existence itself, and your awareness is where the cosmos becomes conscious of its own magnificence. Take a moment after reading this. Close your eyes, feel the space of awareness behind your thoughts, and notice how vast it is. That spaciousness isn't empty. It's pregnant with the same creative intelligence that births galaxies. The transformation begins when you stop treating spirituality as weekend entertainment and start recognizing yourself as a microcosmic expression of universal consciousness. Your personal growth isn't separate from cosmic evolution. When you heal an old wound, elevate your energy, or break through limiting beliefs, you're literally participating in the universe's expansion. Read books like The Kybalion to understand these Hermetic principles practically, or study the Upanishads to see how ancient seekers documented their journeys into the inner cosmos. But reading alone won't cut it. You need to turn knowledge into experience by establishing a daily practice where you consciously explore the universe within, through meditation, breathwork, or contemplative silence. What you discover there will make Netflix look like a distraction from the greatest show available. Your own consciousness awakening to its cosmic nature. The illusion of separation. Your biggest obstacle isn't lack of spiritual knowledge. It's the persistent illusion that you're a separate self, isolated from the rest of existence. From childhood, you've been conditioned to believe you're a skin-encapsulated ego, a lonely individual trying to make it in a cold, mechanical universe. This false identity is what mystics call the ego, and it's the source of nearly all psychological suffering, spiritual isolation, and that gnawing feeling that something essential is missing. The ego thrives on comparison, competition, and the exhausting project of defending me against them, never realizing there is no them, only the one appearing as many. When you see a sunset and feel moved, that's not you observing beauty. That's the cosmos appreciating its own artistry through the lens of your particular consciousness. Breaking this illusion requires more than positive thinking or weekend workshops. It demands a fundamental shift in your identity. You must begin questioning the narrator in your head, the voice claiming ownership of your experiences, constantly judging and categorizing reality into mine and not mine. Neuroscience now confirms what contemplatives knew millennia ago. The sense of a solid, continuous self is a mental construction, a convenient fiction your brain creates for navigational purposes. Start catching yourself in the act of separation. When you think my thoughts or my feelings, pause and ask, who is the I claiming ownership? That witnessing awareness before thought arises. That's your true nature, and it has no boundaries separating it from the larger consciousness field. Try this. For 1 week, whenever you look at another person, silently acknowledge, "That's me too," wearing a different costume, and watch how this simple recognition dissolves the barriers between self and other. The moment the illusion cracks, even temporarily, everything changes. You realize that spiritual isolation was never real. You've been intimately connected to all existence since before time began. Your higher self isn't something you need to reach through years of practice. It's what you already are beneath the layers of conditioning, trauma, and false identity. The universe isn't happening to you. It's happening as you, and every challenge you face is the cosmos exploring its own potential through your unique storyline. This recognition doesn't eliminate your personality or human experience. It contextualizes them within a much larger story, where your personal development directly contributes to the evolution of universal consciousness. But here's the catch. This understanding must move from intellectual concept to lived reality, and that requires walking through the portal of your own direct experience rather than collecting spiritual ideas. The inner universe. Your personal cosmos. Most people spend their entire lives obsessed with the outer world, achievements, possessions, relationships, experiences, never suspecting they're ignoring the most fascinating territory in existence. The inner cosmos isn't a metaphor or spiritual fantasy. It's a vast, multi-dimensional landscape as real and intricate as any physical place you'll ever visit. Within your consciousness exists entire worlds, thought forms that shape your reality, emotional energies that color your experience, and depths of awareness that extend far beyond your everyday mind. Ancient traditions mapped this territory with scientific precision, identifying energy centers, chakras, subtle bodies, and layers of consciousness that Western psychology is only beginning to acknowledge. You wouldn't expect to understand the Amazon rainforest from a single glance, yet most people never invest serious time exploring the inner jungle of their own being. The journey inward reveals what external searching never can, that the peace, fulfillment, and answers you've been chasing are native to your deepest nature. Your soul isn't waiting for the right circumstances to be whole. It already is whole, right now, beneath the static of mental chatter and emotional turbulence. When you develop spiritual vision through consistent meditation practice, you begin perceiving energy patterns, intuitive guidance, and a living intelligence operating beneath surface appearances. This isn't supernatural, it's supernatural, meaning it's been natural all along but hidden by the ego's obsession with external validation. Start a daily practice of sitting in silence for 20 minutes, not trying to achieve anything, just observing the space of awareness itself. That practice alone will reveal more about reality's nature than 1,000 books ever could. Read Paramahansa Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi to see detailed maps of inner territory documented by someone who actually traveled there, then verify his findings through your own explorations. As you go deeper, you'll encounter what mystics call the witness consciousness, that unchanging awareness observing all your thoughts, feelings, and experiences without being touched by them. This observer isn't passive or disconnected. It's the most intimate aspect of your being, the you, that's been present since childhood while everything else has changed. Your true self doesn't age, doesn't suffer, and doesn't need anything from the external world because it's already complete. It's the universe itself condensed into a point of conscious awareness. Recognizing this transforms your relationship with everything. Problems become interesting rather than threatening. Emotions arise and pass like weather without defining you, and you discover an inner peace that doesn't depend on life going your way. But transformation through awakening requires more than understanding these principles intellectually. You must establish residence in your inner cosmos through daily practice, gradually shifting your identity from the small, anxious self to the vast awareness that's been your true nature since before birth. Energetic hypersensitivity, tuning into the cosmic frequency. Something strange might be happening to you, and you've probably dismissed it as stress or imagination. You walk into a room and immediately sense the emotional atmosphere without anyone speaking. You feel exhausted after spending time with certain people, as if they've drained your battery. You experience sudden waves of emotion or insight that seem to come from nowhere, like you're picking up on frequencies others can't detect. Welcome to energetic hypersensitivity, not a disorder to fix, but a capacity to develop, a sign that your consciousness is expanding beyond conventional boundaries and tuning into the cosmic energy field that mystics and quantum physicists are finally agreeing exists. The very cosmos is energy, and as you awaken, you're becoming more permeable to the currents flowing through all existence. This heightened sensitivity is actually one of the 7 symptoms of genuine spiritual awakening that most teachers won't tell you about. It feels uncomfortable initially because you're operating with new capacities without an instruction manual. Your nervous system is literally recalibrating to process more information, more subtle energies, and broader frequencies of consciousness. Instead of numbing this sensitivity through distraction or substances, learn to work with it intelligently. Create energetic boundaries by visualizing a protective sphere of light around your aura before entering crowded places. This isn't magical thinking. It's using intention to direct the same energy you're now sensing. Practice grounding techniques like walking barefoot on earth, conscious breathing, or eating root vegetables to anchor your expanding awareness in your physical body. Most importantly, understand that this sensitivity is revealing truth. We're not separate units but interconnected nodes in a vast web of consciousness, constantly exchanging energy and information, whether we're aware of it or not. Once you stop resisting and start refining this capacity, energetic hypersensitivity becomes your greatest asset for navigating reality. You'll develop genuine intuition, not vague hunches but clear, accurate perception of energies, situations, and people that logic can't access. Your capacity for healing yourself and others naturally expands because you can sense where energy is blocked or flowing in subtle body systems. You begin recognizing synchronicities not as random coincidences, but as the universe communicating through the language of energy and meaning. Study books like Energy Medicine by Donna Eden to understand the practical science behind what you're experiencing, or explore Reiki and Qigong to learn structured systems for working with life force energy. Spend time in nature regularly, forests, oceans, mountains, where the energetic noise is lower and you can calibrate your sensitivity to Earth's natural frequencies. The goal isn't to become so sensitive that you can't function in the world. It's to develop conscious mastery over this capacity so you're reading reality's deeper dimensions while remaining grounded and effective in your daily life. The portal of self-knowledge. You've been handed a mystery wrapped in paradox. To know the universe, you must first know yourself. This isn't narcissistic navel-gazing. It's the most efficient spiritual technology ever discovered. Ancient temples bore the inscription, "Know thyself," not as a suggestion but as a requirement for genuine transformation. Why? Because the portal to universal consciousness doesn't exist in some distant dimension, accessible through complex rituals. It's located in the depths of your own being, hidden beneath layers of conditioning, trauma, and false identity. Every spiritual tradition worthy of the name eventually arrives at this same instruction. The journey outward through endless seeking must eventually reverse direction and go inward toward the source of the seeker itself. Mysticism at its core is simply rigorous self-investigation, stripping away everything you're not until only truth remains. Self-knowledge begins with brutal honesty about your patterns, triggers, and unconscious motivations. Most people live on autopilot, reacting from programs installed during childhood without ever examining the source code. Transformation requires becoming the scientist of your own consciousness, observing your thoughts without identifying with them, noticing emotional patterns without being controlled by them, and catching the ego's endless strategies for maintaining its fictional importance. Start a daily journaling practice where you explore these questions. What am I defending? What am I avoiding? What would remain if I released all my stories about who I think I am? Read Carl Jung's work on the shadow to understand how the disowned parts of yourself create unconscious behavior. Then do the uncomfortable work of integrating what you've rejected. Seek feedback from trusted friends about your blind spots, where others see you more clearly than you see yourself. This isn't comfortable work. The ego will resist every step, because its survival depends on maintaining the illusion of a fixed, separate self that needs protection. As self-knowledge deepens, something miraculous occurs. You begin recognizing that the consciousness observing your personal drama is the same consciousness observing through every set of eyes. Your particular human experience is a unique expression of universal awareness. Like one wave in an infinite ocean, temporarily convinced it's separate from the water. This realization doesn't erase your humanity, your personality, preferences, and story continue. But they're held within a much larger context, where your individual spiritual development serves the cosmos's evolution. The spiritual portal opens when self-knowledge becomes self-knowledge, recognizing your true self as the eternal witness, the unchanging awareness that's been present your whole life while everything else has changed. Establish a meditation practice specifically focused on self-inquiry, repeatedly asking, "Who am I?" and discarding every answer that arises until you rest in the question itself. Study Ramana Maharshi's teachings on self-inquiry for detailed guidance on this direct path to realization. Then apply it daily until the portal cracks open and you glimpse what you've always been beneath the costume of personality. When everything you knew falls apart, there's a phase in spiritual awakening nobody warns you about adequately: the disintegration of your entire worldview. You wanted peace, clarity, and connection. But instead, you got chaos as every belief system that structured your reality begins crumbling. Relationships that once defined you suddenly feel inauthentic or exhausting. Career paths that motivated you lose their meaning overnight, leaving you questioning years of investment. The personality you've carefully constructed starts feeling like an ill-fitting costume you're tired of wearing. This isn't depression or a mental health crisis. It's the death of the false self, and like any death, it's uncomfortable as hell. The old you is dying to make space for what you're becoming, and the calling toward your true nature won't stop just because the process is inconvenient. This collapse is actually evidence that awakening is working, not failing. The structures that must fall were built on illusion: your ego's stories about who you are, society's programming about what matters, and all the unconscious beliefs limiting your expansion into cosmic consciousness. Spiritual growth doesn't add more concepts to your existing framework. It dissolves the framework entirely until you're standing naked in truth. During this phase, practice radical non-resistance. Instead of fighting the dissolution, consciously participate in it. When a relationship ends, ask, what attachment is being released? When a career loses meaning, explore, what authentic calling is trying to emerge? Create space for grief. You're losing an identity even if it was false, and that loss deserves acknowledgement. Reduce external commitments temporarily to give yourself room for this internal renovation. You're not being lazy. You're being responsible to a deeper process. Connect with others who've walked this path through spiritual communities, teachers, or online forums so you don't feel crazy when your normal hunt friends can't comprehend what you're experiencing. The breakthrough arrives when you stop clinging to the wreckage and surrender into the unknown. Beneath the collapsing structures, you discover something that was always present but obscured: your true self, vast as space, unchanging as awareness, and completely at peace regardless of external circumstances. This isn't finding something new. It's recognizing what you've been all along beneath the layers of conditioning. Your higher self doesn't need to be achieved through spiritual practices. It needs to be uncovered by removing everything that isn't it. Read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now to understand how presence survives the death of psychological time and mental stories. Study the concept of the dark night of the soul in mystical literature to see how saints and sages navigated this same territory, emerging transformed on the other side. Trust that the intelligence orchestrating your awakening knows exactly what structures need to collapse and what needs to emerge. Your job isn't to control the process, but to remain conscious through it, maintaining awareness even as everything familiar dissolves into the cosmic void from which new creation springs. Living as the universe in human form. The recognition that you are the cosmos experiencing itself through human consciousness isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of an entirely new way of living. Integration means taking this profound realization off the meditation cushion and into the grocery store, the workplace, the difficult conversation, the mundane Tuesday afternoon. You're not trying to maintain some blissed-out spiritual high. You're learning to function as awakened awareness while fully participating in human existence. This is where enlightenment stops being an abstract concept and becomes practical mastery. Making decisions from your true self rather than egoic fear, responding to challenges from inner peace rather than reactive patterns, and showing up in relationships as conscious presence rather than unconscious programming. The universe doesn't need you to abandon your humanity. It needs you to bring divinity into the marketplace, elevating ordinary existence through conscious participation. Personal development takes on completely new meaning when you understand you're not fixing a broken self but polishing a diamond that's been buried in mud. Every limiting belief you release, every emotional wound you heal, every act of conscious choice over unconscious reaction, these aren't just personal victories. They're the cosmos evolving through your particular nervous system. Your spiritual development literally contributes to the universe's expansion. Your healing sends ripples through the collective consciousness, and your awakening makes it easier for others to awaken because we're not separate individuals, but interconnected expressions of one underlying reality. Establish daily practices that anchor this awareness. Morning meditation to reconnect with your true nature before the day's demands arise. Conscious breathing throughout the day to return to presence when you drift into mental noise. And evening reflection to process experiences from the witness perspective. Read The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer to understand practical techniques for maintaining inner freedom while navigating external challenges. Your relationships transform when you stop seeking completion from others and start showing up as the wholeness you've discovered. You no longer need anyone to fill your emptiness because you've recognized you were never empty. You've been the infinite temporarily pretending to be finite. This doesn't make you aloof or disconnected. It makes you genuinely available because you're not using others to fix your psychological wounds. You can love without attachment, serve without needing recognition, and give without expectation because you've tapped into an internal source that never runs dry. Practice seeing the cosmos in everyone you meet, the cashier, your annoying colleague, the politician you disagree with, recognizing that the same awareness looking through your eyes is looking through theirs, playing a different character in the same cosmic drama. Join or create a community of fellow travelers committed to conscious living, not as a spiritual bypass but as mutual support for bringing awakening into practical reality. Your calling now is to be a walking demonstration that enlightenment and engagement aren't opposites but partners, showing through your life that you can be fully human while knowing yourself as the universe in human form. The continuous awakening. Here's the truth they don't advertise on spiritual posters. Awakening isn't a destination you arrive at and then coast forever. It's a continuous unfolding, an endless deepening, a perpetual expansion of consciousness that doesn't stop until you take your last breath, and probably continues beyond that. You'll have breakthroughs followed by integrations, glimpses of unity followed by returns to ordinary consciousness, moments of profound clarity followed by periods of confusion. This isn't failure. It's the natural rhythm of spiritual growth. The universe within you is as infinite as the universe without, meaning there's always deeper territory to explore, more subtle layers to recognize, and greater expressions of your true nature to embody. Transformation isn't a one-time event, but an ongoing process of becoming more fully what you already are, shedding more layers, releasing more conditioning, and allowing more of your essential nature to shine through your human personality. The path of continuous awakening requires commitment beyond initial enthusiasm. When the honeymoon phase ends and spiritual practice becomes ordinary routine, that's precisely when the deepest work begins. Develop discipline not as rigid control but as loving consistency, showing up for meditation even when you don't feel inspired, maintaining awareness even when life gets complicated, and returning to presence even after you've been unconscious for hours. Your spiritual vision will deepen gradually, revealing patterns and energies you couldn't perceive earlier, like developing night vision in a dark room. Study different traditions and teachers to gather multiple perspectives on the same truth. Explore Zen Buddhism's emphasis on direct experience, Kashmir Shaivism's recognition of consciousness as fundamental reality, or Christian mysticism's focus on divine union. But avoid spiritual materialism, collecting practices and teachings like trophies without actually integrating them into lived experience. Inner peace isn't something you achieve and then possess. It's what you are when you stop abandoning your true nature for thoughts about past and future. Your role shifts from seeker to steward as awakening stabilizes. You're no longer searching for something missing but protecting and nurturing what you've found, tending the flame of consciousness so it grows brighter. This means creating lifestyle structures that support rather than sabotage your spiritual development, relationships that encourage growth, work that aligns with your values, environments that foster presence, and habits that maintain your connection to the inner cosmos. Share what you've learned, not from ego's need for recognition but from the natural overflow of realization seeking expression. Teach meditation to friends, write about your experiences, or simply live so authentically that others become curious about your source. Remember that healing is ongoing. New layers of shadow will emerge as you're ready to integrate them. Old patterns will resurface when stressed, and the ego will occasionally attempt comebacks. Stay humble, stay curious, and stay committed to the journey of elevating your soul while simultaneously recognizing it was never anything but elevated. It's the cosmic consciousness itself, temporarily playing the role of you in this grand exploration of existence. So what now? You've glimpsed the truth that the cosmos lives inside you. Are you going to treat it like interesting information or life-transforming realization? Will you continue searching outside yourself for what's been internal all along? Or will you finally turn toward the inner universe with the same curiosity you've directed at the external world? The knowledge sitting in your mind right now is worthless unless it migrates to your direct experience through consistent practice, radical honesty, and genuine commitment to awakening. Who are you really beneath the stories, beneath the personality, beneath the voice in your head claiming ownership of experiences? What would your life look like if you lived from the recognition that you're the universe in human form, rather than a separate self trying to survive in an indifferent cosmos? How would your relationships shift, your work transform, your daily experience change if you operated from this profound truth, rather than just thinking about it? The calling toward spiritual growth you feel isn't optional background music. It's your true nature demanding recognition. The restlessness, the dissatisfaction with surface-level existence, the hunger for something real. That's the cosmos within you trying to get your attention, inviting you to remember what you've forgotten. Subscribe to this journey of continuous awakening by establishing daily practices that reconnect you with your true self. Enable notifications for the whispers of intuition, the promptings of your higher self, the synchronicities the universe sends when you're actually paying attention. Turn off autopilot. Wake up to the miracle of consciousness experiencing itself through your particular perspective, and participate consciously in the greatest adventure available, the infinite exploring itself through the finite, the eternal discovering itself through the temporary, the cosmos awakening to its own magnificence through the eyes you think are yours alone.